Hello, my unremarkable friends. Today on the Unremarkable Entrepreneur podcast, I've decided to read through one of my most recent articles. I realized the other day that I was creating this body of work and not everybody likes to read. Some people like to watch and some people like to listen. So I thought this would be an excellent way to bring you what I'm writing about, what I'm talking about. So sit back, relax. This is the 50K question. Why most people never ask, and what happened when I finally did. There's a reason most businesses fail that nobody talks about. It's not about poor products, poor positioning, personal branding, bad timing, or a lack of hustle and hard work. It's simpler, more devastating, and way more stupid. We never ask. On Friday, I sat down with my son on my knee and my microphone in my hand. Because time was and always is in short supply, I decided to dictate my latest update and fix my greatest problem as an entrepreneur, actually inviting people to work with me. 24 hours later, I had £50,000 worth of inquiries in my inbox. Most would-be entrepreneurs are actually privateers. They create offers in private, maybe talk about it once and hope someone notices. When they don't, they assume that the market has spoken. But the market can't speak if you never ask the question or never start the conversation. I'd spent 18 months building the Authority Lab, first by accident and then by design. Through my podcast and events, people found me, and they'd ask me to help bring their business ideas to life. And I'd simply say, yes. The conversations created flow, ideas emerged, and then the money followed. But then I made a mistake. I decided the offer needed to be ready before I could really invite people in. So I rebranded, refined the methodology, polished the language, and waited. But waited for what? Another insight? The perfect positioning? A sign from the universe? My offer just sat there, complete, powerful, but gathering mental dust. Until Friday. With my son settled on my knee, I realized something stupidly simple. There was nothing left to do except ask. What I didn't realize was that I wasn't protecting the work, I was protecting myself from the answer. Because here's what asking really means. It means making the world respond to you. And once the world responds, you can no longer hide in the safety of someday. Everything is possible in the planning phase. That's why we love it. But possibility only becomes real when you ask. And honestly, there's an ocean of new possibilities waiting just beyond the horizon for those brave enough to do so. The artist creates and invites, but the amateur creates and waits. I stumbled on a video of Jim Rohn speaking on the power of asking. He said that asking starts a process that you don't even need to understand. He said, push the button and the machinery you can't see begins working. All you need to know is that it works. If you want something to happen, you need to invite it to happen. You need to ask for it. And that simple action could change everything. But there's a nuance here. How we ask is a catalyst for transformation. Because asking isn't magic, it's archaeology. You're not extracting what you want from the world, you're discovering what wants to happen through genuine dialogue. And in that discovery, all manner of things can happen. To you, through you, and for you. This is what it means to think like an artist, to price like an artist, to ask like an artist. The artist doesn't pitch, the artist invites. The artist doesn't manipulate outcomes, the artist creates space for response. The artist doesn't ask, how do I get what I want? The artist asks, what's actually possible here? When I finally pressed record on Friday, my son wasn't actually settled and my voice wasn't really steady, and that didn't matter because I wasn't selling, I was inviting. I described the Authority Lab honestly, who it's for, why it matters. No tactics, no countdown timers, no manufactured urgency, just a clear invitation. This exists. If it's for you, let's talk. And then within 24 hours, £50,000 worth of inquiries. Not because I finally decided to sell, because I finally decided to ask. And asking, it turns out, is the beginning of everything. Rohn said in that video that there are two ways to ask. First, ask with intelligence. Be clear. Be specific. Don't mumble. Define what you want. Second, ask with faith. Believe like a child whilst planning like an adult. Both are true, but there's a third way that he didn't mention. Ask with curiosity. Ask without predetermined outcomes. Ask to discover, not extract. Ask to start a conversation, not close a transaction. Because here's what I've learned. The artist's ask isn't about getting, it's about revealing. You're not asking the canvas to become what you've already decided. You're asking it to show you what it wants to be. And look, this isn't just philosophy. The stakes here are real. Around 94% of coaching businesses fail within the first 3 years. And I wonder how many of those people approach each day with a spirit of genuine inquiry versus a need to make what they'd already decided on work. Me, I'm right at the end of year 2, right in the middle of that dead zone. And here's why I might just make the 6%. Because by serving the work, I discovered what the world was asking from me. Anthem led to my podcast, Culture Crush. Culture Crush replaced my income. And as I lent into what my community was telling me, asking of me, inviting me to do, the Unremarkable entrepreneur became the obvious next step. My curiosity created dialogue, and dialogue illuminated a path worth following. So I followed it. I evolved, I allowed, I welcomed. I didn't shut down the answer I was getting because they didn't align with what I'd already decided on. I found my best work. I didn't choose it. Most treat asking like a transaction, but artists treat asking like a conversation. I'm curious about X. What's actually possible here? The difference isn't semantic, it's fundamental. Transaction requires control. You need the outcome you've predetermined or you failed. Conversation requires courage. You need to be willing to be surprised by what emerges. One of those routes keeps you safe and stuck, but the other sets you free. This is the practice. Ask without attachment. Invite without manipulation. Create space for what wants to happen. The world doesn't respond to those just working away. It responds to those who speak up, who ask questions and invite answers. Because genuine dialogue starts with a question, and dialogue is where discovery lives. And you will find what you're looking for. The question is, what are you asking? And that's not some daft platitude, it's reality. Just look at your life. To gossip at work is to ask for gossip. To be impatient with people is to welcome impatience. Look, you won't be generous when you're successful if you're not generous when you're not. I'm asking for a measure of success in my business. I want options for my son. I want options for me. And now I'm getting some of the answers I want because, like any practice, any muscle, becoming a good asker takes time. Learning how to invite and to be open is a mental work of years. But you could start today by simply noticing what you want and asking for it. So here's my invitation to you. What would you ask if you weren't afraid of the answer? Who would you reach out to if rejection didn't sting? What conversation would you start if you didn't need to control where it went? Here's what I know. Success isn't rationed. Authority isn't in short supply. The people who need your work are already looking for it. Think of it like the tide. Sometimes it rolls in, sometimes it rolls out, but the ocean is always there. Abundant, endless. And your questions are like the moon's gravity, powerful, influential. They direct the ocean's movement. When most start building, the tide is often out. It's distant. They see others playing in the surf, and that's where they get stuck. They become voyeurs of other people's success. They don't realize that they have power over the tides. They can bring the ocean near. They can accept its abundance. Not because they lack ambition, because they lack the practice of asking. The amateur, they mumble, they hedge, they qualify. They plan what to say instead of using their voice. The artist, now they rise in the night sky. They influence the waves. They challenge the ocean to respond. They create, articulate, and invite without fear. The artist trusts that asking, real asking, honest asking, and curious asking starts a process that doesn't need their understanding to work. All they do is push the button. So here's your 30-day challenge. I invite you to make one clear ask every day, not a sales pitch, an invitation. Ask a question you're genuinely curious about. Ask for feedback on something you've created. Ask someone if they'd like to work together. Ask what's actually needed here. Don't predetermine the outcome. Don't measure success by whether you got what you wanted. Measure it by what you discovered. Document what actually happens. Not what you hoped would happen, but what emerged from the conversation. Watch what reveals itself when you stop trying to extract and start trying to discover. Because asking isn't about getting whatever you want. It's about learning what wants to happen through you. And once you start the conversation, all manner of things become possible as the tide rolls in. The question isn't whether the work is ready. The question is whether you're ready to ask. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Unremarkable Entrepreneur Podcast. I'd love to see you in the comments wherever you're listening from to hear your reactions. What are you taking away? Are you going to give that 30-day challenge a go? Have you got any articles or insights or nuggets that you want to add into the conversation for other people to see and read? Drop those in the comments as well. And of course, if you're not subscribed already, now is a great time to do so. Please do so at unremarkable.co. That's unremarkable.co. I'd love to see you part of our universe. Come and join the Unremarkable Entrepreneurs. And I will see you probably next week for the next read through. Bye for now.